Oh, yeah. Is it Tuesday already? The Mandalorian and Grogu just exceeded all expectations in the box office this weekend. It still has the highest audience score of any Star Wars project, or any Star Wars movie, I should say, since the original trilogy. And we even got Ahsoka Season 2 leaks to talk about today. We got some Cal Kestis stuff to talk about. We got some Starfighter to talk about today. Oh my goodness. Is it such a great time to be a Star Wars fan? I have not stopped smiling for the last 72 hours, probably more than that. What a great time. We got a lot to get into and not a lot of time. So without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon? So yes, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh, it's so great, you know? It's so great. It exceeded the box office predictions for the weekend, for its opening weekend. And we even got some deleted scenes from this movie, showing us that IG-11, voiced by Taika Waititi in the first, all three seasons? No, season 1 and season 3. I don't think he's in season 2. But in 2 of the 3 seasons for The Mandalorian and Grogu, he was originally supposed to be in this film. We got to talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu, of course, Ahsoka Season 2, and even some Starfighter stuff. And we'll even throw in some, Cameron Monaghan, Cal Kestis, and live action stuff in there as well. But before we dive into any of that, let's start the stream the only way we know how, by saying hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? WV Grad, how we doing? Brandon Baker in the house. Starship 66, how we doing? Steven in the building. Holly, what is up? Robotic Pope, how we doing? Cleve Morris in the house. Riley Lawson, what is up? Darth Plagueis lives in the building. Mojo Jojo, how we doing? Disney Shill, nice username. How we doing? Darth Doyle in the building. If I missed you, Steve, how we doing? 730 Evie, April, Officer Murdoch, King Shadow. All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
All right, so let's start with the Mandalorian and Grogu stuff. Let's start with the deleted scenes, images that we have from behind the scenes, and the box office returns for the weekend. Let's start there. Let's start with the Rotten Tomatoes score, which has dropped. It had, I'll get to that super chat in one sec. It has dropped from a 89%. Well, it started at 88, went up to an 89, and is back now down to an 88 yet again. Still the highest audience score of any Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi 43 years ago. The critic score was at a 58, then was at a 60 for a while, went up to a 63, and now is back down to a 62 after 250 critic reviews and over 5,000 audience score to get that 88%. So, very high audience score, the highest since the original trilogy, and the box office. So let's talk about this. There's a couple of conflicting numbers going on here. One article we have says it made 163, and the other one says 167. And I mean, that's like not the craziest difference in the world, but let's read this to start. Memorial Day weekend box office. The Mandalorian and Grogu opens to a $100 million domestically, when it was predicted to make, well, the initial predictions were like 50 to 70 million, and then it bumped up to 70 to 80, and then it bumped up to 80 to 100. 163 million globally. So, Disney's The Mandalorian and Grogu ignites a $100 million domestic box office over the Memorial Day holiday weekend. That's ever so slightly behind Sunday's estimated 102, which Sunday, the day before, for the 4-day opening frame, which includes 81 million over the traditional weekend for the Star Wars spin-off, a continuation of the popular Disney Plus streaming series. It also collected a softer $63 million from international markets for the global debut of $163 million over the 4-day period. And we'll get to the budget for this movie in a second, but it did make its money back in its opening weekend. The Mandalorian and Grogu is significant as it is the first Star Wars movie in almost 7 years, since 2019's saga concluding billion-dollar tentpole, The Rise of Skywalker. All three sequel trilogy movies making over $1 billion. As Star Wars owner Lucasfilm failed for years to launch a new theatrical film, the company turned its attention to the small screen with Disney Plus shows like The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, as well as Andor, Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, The Mandalorian, even animated shows like Maul's Shadow Lord or Bad Batch or Clone Wars 7. The small screen. So is Star Wars still a cinematic property? Well, I'm pretty sure we just watched a movie this last weekend. The box office analytics believe it's too soon to tell. And let's not forget, we're going to get another Star Wars movie this time next year. They suggest that the film's second weekend in theaters will better indicate whether The Mandalorian and Grogu is only appealing to fans of the series or it'll break out among families, meaning, the more normie fans will go and watch this film. For now, ticket sales are roughly even with Lucasfilm's last spin-off attempt with Solo: A Star Wars Story, which arrived over Memorial Day weekend in 2018 and ended in disaster, as it did indeed lose money. The first Star Wars movie to ever lose money. Now, this is where things get really interesting because it goes into Solo's, this. Solo left the big screen with just 392 million globally and became the first Star Wars movie ever to lose money in its theatrical run. Part of the issue for Solo was that it carried a gargantuan $300 million budget, almost double the budget of The Mandalorian and Grogu. Almost double. Now, we're going to talk about Ahsoka Season 2 today and some leaks for the plot, but also some leaks for the budget of Ahsoka Season 2. And it's extremely low. So now we're coming off the backs of The Mandalorian and Grogu being almost half the budget of Solo, and now Ahsoka Season 2 having an extremely low budget when it's supposed to be a war in our Star Wars, bigger than the first season, and probably most other Disney Plus shows we've gotten so far. So I guess the question becomes, how are they doing this? Because the production quality of The Mandalorian and Grogu is not half as good as Solo. If anything, it's better. If anything, the action sequences and the incredible visuals of The Mandalorian and Grogu are better than Solo. So how is the budget half? We'll talk about it. But that, of course, goes into Solo losing money. The Mandalorian and Grogu, meanwhile, was less expensive, costing roughly $165 million to produce, and seems to have far better word of mouth from critics and audiences alike. I actually don't know what Solo's... Hang on. Solo, A Star Wars Story, Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know what the score is on Solo. Let's see. Okay. So Solo has a 69 from critics and a 63 from audiences. So a lot lower than The Mandalorian and Grogu. However, getting back to our article here, where was it? There. What's up with all these ads? Jesus. Okay. Has a better word of mouth and critics and audiences. But The Mandalorian and Grogu will need staying power to prove that younger audiences care about the galaxy far, far away. Jon Favreau directed this film, which revolves around Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin and his adorable green sidekick as they navigate the galaxy that's recovering from the fall of the evil empire. Okay, it goes into, what came in second that weekend, blah, 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 and that's okay. All right, but having said that, with a budget of $165 million, the movie made its money back in its first weekend. For Solo: A Star Wars Story, which had a very similar opening weekend, it didn't even make back half its budget in its opening weekend. I mean, this is great news. It's just a question of how is this even possible? How can The Mandalorian and Grogu movie look as good, if not better, than Solo and be half the budget? It's pretty wild. It's pretty dang wild. Oh, we'll get to that in a sec. Okay. Now, I want to get to this super chat that I did see come in. Let me get to this really quickly. Darth Plagueis Lives with a very generous $5 holla. Says, Mando made its budget back in its opening weekend and is the highest audience score since the original trilogy. What are the haters going to say now? Much love. Well, I do... How do I phrase this? When I first saw the movie on Thursday night, I went online to see a lot of hate for the movie. A lot of it actually coming from people who haven't seen the movie, which is just insane to me. Crapping on something you've never seen before. It happens a lot more than you think. But as Friday came along, as Saturday came along, as Sunday came along, the conversation online, at least that I've been seeing in comment sections on every platform, has been, for the most part, a positive one. People loving this movie, talking about how great the soundtrack is, everybody jamming to that, Shikari soundtrack, which is just awesome. It's been stuck in my head all weekend. But just people talking about how great it is to have Star Wars back on the big screen. How great it is to see Din and Grogu again for the first time in almost 3.5 years, whatever it's been, since season 3. How great it is to have a great Star Wars film that we can talk about and break down and just have fun with. It really is something really cool because Thursday night I was like, oh no, this might be a disaster. Then Friday, the audience score comes out. It's an 88 or an 89, whatever it was. And the highest since the original trilogy. And then the rest of the weekend has just been, for the most part, positivity from the Star Wars fandom, which is really, really, really hard to find. Now, what's really great as a Star Wars fan, as a Star Wars content creator as well, is we are coming off the backs of Maul Shadowlord and Andor Season 2. That was your last live-action project on Disney Plus and your last animated project on Disney Plus. And now, we got this movie that, for the most part, 88% of audiences loved it. You look online and people are having a blast talking about it. It truly is, and I say it all the time, but I'll say it again, the greatest time to be a Star Wars fan. Star Wars is back on the big screen, and we are coming off of one of the best, arguably the best, live-action Disney Plus project. One of the best, arguably the best, animated Star Wars project. And now, and I'm not going to say it's one of the best, because personally for me it's not, but a solid Star Wars movie. It's not Revenge of the Sith. It's not The Empire Strikes Back. It's not Rogue One, for me personally. But a great Star Wars film nonetheless. We're living it up. We are living it up. And yes, it did make its budget back in the opening weekend. Yes, it is the highest rated Star Wars audience score of a Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi. Is it the best since Return of the Jedi? Personally, no. But it is really, really cool. It is really, really cool. It is a big win. That's for sure. A big old win. Now let's talk about these deleted scenes, because these have me like going, what the hell was this movie going to originally be? Well, not originally be, but how much of this movie was cut? There's two big screenshots from behind the scenes that are going around the interwebs right now. That are going around the interwebs right about now. And some of you in the chat are actually crazy. Stop, Mike. It didn't make its budget back. What? One second. Wait. Okay. Are we seeing this? Are we seeing this? Chat? Are we seeing this? Disney doesn't pocket all that money? No, but it still doesn't mean it's not the case. I did not say that this movie is now a profitable movie, but the budget for the movie was this. And that's how much it made this weekend. Meaning, it has made the budget of the movie. The movie's not profitable yet because you still have to make back all of the marketing and everything, but the budget to film the film, the budget to camera on Pedro Pascal was $165. In the movie made in its opening weekend, $165. Well, some people are saying $163, some people are saying $167, $165. Math is hard, I am aware. But it's like Pam in The Office. These are the same exact images. Okay. Oh, deleted scenes. Yes. Okay. So the biggest one, I think, well, we'll start with the smaller one first. This is the smaller one that's not really too crazy. This is on Nal Hutta, clearly, where Din is, with Grogu on his back, riding something. I don't know what, but he's riding something, and he's going through Nal Hutta. Now, it looks like this is the entrance to the Twin Huts Palace. But what is he riding? Because if I remember correctly, he's not riding anything in this scene. There's no Din Djarin riding giant lizard monster anywhere. And it looks like a giant lizard monster. I mean, it looks like it has scales, or not scales, but, looks like a rough skin. It's clearly not a scene that was in the movie. We'll put it that way. This was not a scene in the movie. It looks like their first appearance to go see the huts, because the second one is Din going by himself. And the third one is the two of them together, but they crash land the Gunrunner ship inside of the Hutt's palace. So this looks to be the first time they go to Nal Hutta, and they're riding on some sort of creature. I don't know why this was cut from the movie. Maybe just to cut down the runtime a little bit. Maybe just to, make it not feel as drawn out. Maybe this was a longer scene of Din explaining to Grogu the huts, or maybe it was them just riding in. I don't know. Because they land the Razor Crest, like, right next to the door. So I don't know how this scene would have worked. Or would have, I don't know how this would have been before. But this was just one of them. The other one, and this is way cooler to me, is this. This is back on the Navarro homestead, Din Djarin's home, where we have Rada the Hutt, which, by the way, this is the behind-the-scenes look at Rada. This is the, by the way, what's going on here? This is like the big, the little thing that goes, action. This is like the biggest version of that ever. Why is it so comically enormous? Either way, Rada the Hutt, that's him behind the scenes, which is pretty funny. You got Din Djarin right there, and Grogu down there being puppeted. But IG-11, a character who was not in this movie for a single frame. Not in this movie at all. And we were trying to predict, what are they going to do with Grief Karga? Because Carl Weathers sadly passed away. How are they going to deal with that character? He is the what's his name? The magistrate, the high magistrate of Navarro. How are they going to deal with this character not being there? And then the other character was brought up. At the end of season 3 of The Mandalorian, IG-11 becomes the Marshal of Navarro. So we assumed that we would see him in this film. He wasn't in the film, but he's right there. This is a filmed scene for the movie. So now the question's got to start being asked. How much of this film has been canceled? Do we need to start asking for a director's cut of this film? I assume that this scene of Din riding on some sort of alien creature into the huts, into the Twin Huts Palace, and this scene of IG-11 visiting them at their home on Navarro is not going to change the entire plot of the movie. It's not going to change the way we look at this movie forever. But I love IG-11. He's a great character. I would love to see him in this movie, even if it was just for a one-off little scene. And that's what this seems to maybe have been. Maybe Din Djarin calls in his good pal. You get a funny sequence with Grogu. And Din's like, I need to get my ship pimped out. I need to, get my ship lighter so it can do cool maneuvers. And then he goes, oh, just call in the Anzellans. Like, maybe that was the entire scene. I don't know. Either way, it would have been really cool to see him on screen. And Taika Waititi is credited at the end of the film. So this was a scene that was going to be in the movie. At one point, this would have been in the film. And again, it probably wouldn't have changed the movie all that drastically, but it would have been cool nonetheless.
This is where the fun begins.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not familiar with Embo. Is he a bad guy? He's a bounty hunter. So, I mean, bounty hunters can be bad or good, depending on the day. He's in the Clone Wars. He's badass in the Clone Wars for sure, but I think this live-action version of him is the best version we've seen. I get people liked watching him snowboard down the mountain, but this was awesome. So he's a bad guy depending on who he's hired by, I suppose. Like Din Djarin in Season 1. Ooh, let me put up a poll, actually. Let's put up a poll. I want to see where you guys are at. First of all, tell me in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank this movie? Now that most of you have probably seen the film, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Tell me how many times you've seen the movie in the chat too. But tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, what did you think of the Mandalorian and Grogu film? And let's put this poll up here. What did you think of the Mandalorian and Grogu? Did you love it? Did you like it? Were you like, meh, I mean, it's all right? Or did you hate it? Let's see where we're at. After the opening weekend of The Mandalorian and Grogu, the first Star Wars movie in almost 7 years, where are we at? Where are we at? Look at some of these scores. 8.5, 10 out of 10. Okay. 8 out of 10, 8.5, 8, 7, 8, 8.5. B tier.
Incorrect.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what did you think of The Mandalorian and Grogu? B tier. Eight out of 10. 9.50. I won't be seeing it until it's streaming. You're missing out. I mean, I'm going to watch it when it streams, of course, on Disney Plus, probably a billion times, like I watch every other Star Wars movie a billion times. But there is zero experience better than watching Star Wars on the big screen, specifically in IMAX, where I can't hear the person next to me because it's so loud and in my face. That's the dream. 8 out of 10, 6.9. I see what you did there. 8.5, 8, 7. High B, okay. 8.5, 9.5, okay. 8, 8. On a scale of 1 to 10, definitely a B+. Okay.
I got a bad feeling about this.
All right. When is it going to be on Disney Plus? I don't know, but I would assume like September or something like that. Like not for a while. Not for a while. Yeah. Okay. So IG-11 was originally going to be in the movie. Maybe like a digital release or a DVD release, or do DVDs even exist anymore? A Blu-ray release could have the deleted scenes on it. Maybe the Disney Plus release has deleted scenes on it to make more people watch it when it releases on Disney Plus. I think they will eventually show us these scenes because these are like the only behind-the-scenes images that have come out, and they involve scenes that weren't in the movie. So it feels like they're kind of messing with us, teasing that maybe eventually you'll see a longer version of the movie or something like that. And maybe on release of Disney Plus or DVD release, they will give us the deleted scenes with IG-11. Because we want more IG-11. Let's be honest. Okay. So those were the deleted scenes for the Mandalorian and Grogu film. Now let's talk about Ahsoka Season 2. Okay, we'll come back to the I take it back. We're going back to the Mandalorian and Grogu. Before we get to Ahsoka Season 2, I want to talk about this. I forgot I had this article pulled up here. The Mandalorian and Grogu just broke a 50-year-old Star Wars tradition. 49 years. As of yesterday, I believe, Star Wars is 49 years old. So in 2027, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary. We got the Star Wars celebration in California with the 50th anniversary celebration. But as of yesterday, A New Hope is 49 years old. And along with it, Star Wars is 49 years old. Meaning, 49 years ago, all this began, leading to George Lucas making a Star Wars movie, to me talking about it on a Tuesday in May of 2026, 49 years later. Yes. The Mataween, nice username, with a $5 holla says, The Mandalorian and Grogu has the highest Rotten Tomato audience score in the Disney Star Wars era with an 88%, 1 point higher than Rogue One. True, I'll do you one better. It has a higher audience score than all the prequel movies as well. So technically, it's the highest audience score since Return of the Jedi, 43 years ago. And yes, Rogue won. I appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. Okay. Star Wars Mandalorian and Grogu just broke a 50-year-old Star Wars tradition. Can anybody guess what that tradition is? By the way, Anthony Daniels is in this film. So he remains the only Star Wars actor to be in all Star Wars movies, as he is the voice of the droid dispatcher when they first arrive on Nal Hutta. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, but does anybody know what this 50-year tradition is that they broke? Anybody? Anybody? The opening credits? No. Well, yes, there were opening credits, and that's never happened in a Star Wars movie before, but no. Opening crawl, no. There was no opening crawl for Rogue One or Solo either. No. No. Audience score? No. It doesn't have a higher audience score than the originals. No. No. Nobody's got it. I thought you guys would be all over this. Still nobody's guessed it. The music? No. There we go. No lightsabers. No R2-D2. R2 is not in Solo either. No lightsabers. For nearly 50 years, when people have thought of Star Wars, they think of Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Yoda, the Force, planets like Tatooine, Hoth, the forest moon of Endor, hyperspace, the opening crawl, and so much more that we could go on and on. But perhaps the single most defining and iconic feature of Star Wars is the lightsaber. And that's why the newest Star Wars movie is perhaps the most unusual, and why it makes it such a major change for Star Wars. Major change. The Mandalorian and Grogu has delivered a turning point in the series because following its release last week, it becomes the first Star Wars theatrical film to leave lightsabers out completely. Breaking a tradition that stood since A New Hope, since Star Wars first began 49 years ago. Well, the Disney Plus show have the scopes of to avoid them, should they wish, which they don't. Season 1 of The Mandalorian has the Darksaber. Season 2 of The Mandalorian has the Darksaber and Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. And Season 3 of The Mandalorian has the Darksaber. Book of Boba Fett has Luke's lightsaber and the Darksaber and Ahsoka's lightsabers, I guess, in Mando Season 2 as well. Ahsoka has plenty of lightsabers. The Acolyte has plenty of lightsabers. Kenobi has plenty of lightsabers. Andor does not. Andor does not. Skeleton Crew does with the one in Captain Rennett's chamber. Yeah, I think Andor is the only one. There's a lightsaber in the Bad Batch. There's a lightsaber in Maul Shadow Lord, of course. And Rebels. So I think, yeah, I think Andor is the only project. Resistance? Interesting. Interesting. I'm not sure. Does Kylo Ren pull out his lightsaber at the end of that? I forget. It might not. So maybe Resistance, but Andor nonetheless. Okay. The films have always been a mainstream, and this could be a sign that Disney wants to move beyond Jedi. Lightsabers have been part of every previous Star Wars movie in some form. The Skywalker saga is chock full of legendary duels. From Darth Maul's double-bladed red lightsaber, or red blade, taking on Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn at the same time, to Luke Skywalker confronting his father, and later Kylo Ren and Rey going head-to-head, then teaming up and going against each other, and then teaming up again. Even the spin-off films found room for the more elegant weapon. Rogue One, a Star Wars story delivering Vader's instantly iconic hallway massacre, while Solo, a Star Wars story, brought Darth Maul back with a brief cameo where he ignites his lightsaber. Wait, what is this? The Force is not binary. Which Force user are you? Okay. Ignite your lightsaber. What is this? What do we think we are, chat? Jedi Master, Sith Lord, Inquisitor, Padawan, Grey Jedi? I'm going Grey Jedi. Oh, wait. It's going to pick for me? Oh, we got to do 10 questions. All right. A little mid-article break. What is the Force to you? A living energy. I must be worthy of. It is not mine to control. Something vast and mysterious I'm only beginning to understand. Power. Pure and simple. The strong take it and the weak don't. Neither light nor dark, just a current I choose to ride. I'm going to go with a living thing. When you feel strong emotions, anger, grief, love, what do? I acknowledge them, then release them. Attachment leads to suffering. Nope. Bury them. Emotion is a liability I can't afford to indulge. Nah. Feel them fully, and then decide what to do. They are not the enemy. Use them. Passionate. Okay, well, that's clearly the dark side. I'm going B on this one. I'm going B on that one. The Jedi Council gives you an order and that you disagree with. You follow it. Nope. Not going to happen. Voice your objection clearly. Then defer to the decision. Nah. Comply outwards while doing what I think is right. Ignore it. D is always going to be Sith. I'm going C here. It's the Qui-Gon of it all, I think. You know? That'll be what Qui-Gons do. You are offered forbidden knowledge that could give you enormous power. Where have I heard this before? The cost is crossing a moral line. You refuse it without hesitation. Nope. You weigh it carefully. Sometimes darkness holds the real answers. I think I got to go with that one here. Your approach to training and learning is dedicated but humble. There's always more to learn from my masters. Rigorous. Rest is weak. Rest is weak. You know what? You're not tired. You're just lazy. You hear that, chat? You're not tired. You're just lazy. In a duel, your lightsaber fighting style reflects defense and composure. Nah. Fast. I'm not really considered fast. Overwhelmingly aggressive. No. Unpredictable. That would be. Yeah. Unpredictable for sure. Defeated enemy lies at your feet. Powerless. You strike them down. No thanks. Neutralize them permanently. Oh my god, that's crazy. Spare them if you can, but stay clear-eyed about the risk. Yeah, I guess we'll go with that. The Jedi Code forbids attachments. Your honest view on love and bonds. The code is right. No, absolutely not. Love is a weakness. No, I have no attachments. Nope. I feel it deeply, but struggle to reconcile it with my training. Oh, love is not a weakness. That's what I'm going with. Yeah. Love is not a weakness. Why do you use the Force at all? What is the point? To learn. Nah. To protect and serve. That's pretty cool. To survive? To dominate. Okay, we're going to protect and serve. What do we think, chat? Oh, one more. At the final moment, light side or dark side pulling to you. What wins? The light. I choose peace, even when darkness could be easier. Yeah, I gotta go with that. You gotta go with that. I think we're gonna get something in the middle. One Sith Lord. So what am I? I'm all these things? You can't be all at once. Oh, we got 5 gray Jedi, 3 Jedi. Aha. So I guess we're gray. Continuing. Who is in The Mandalorian? The cast of The Mandalorian and Grogu includes Pedro Pascal as Din Djarin in The Mandalorian, Sigourney Weaver as Colonel Ward, Jeremy Allen White as Rada the Hutt, Johnny Cohen as Janu Coin, Grogu as Grogu, appearing as himself. And its opening weekend, The Mandalorian and Grogu opened at #1 in the world, around $102 million domestically over the Memorial Day weekend, and $165 million worldwide, making the budget of the film in its opening weekend, which is a strong launch in normal blockbuster terms. But by Star Wars standards, it's a slightly softer launch, and it's the lowest opening weekend of the Disney-era Star Wars movie, below the franchise's previous lower watermark, Solo: A Star Wars Story. However, context is needed. This movie was about half the budget of Solo. I thought Solo only made $148 million worldwide. Huh. Let's look it up. How much did Solo: A Star Wars Story make opening weekend? Worldwide. Yeah. The global film was estimated to bring in $148 million, according to Forbes. So, why is it saying it made less than that? Last I checked, 165 is more than 148. But maybe my math is not mathing. Maybe my math is not mathing. Either way, still half the budget of Solo. Okay, so this is what I wanted to get back to. So let me get this straight. This was a tweet I saw yesterday. So let me get this straight. Mandalorian and Grogu is going to make its money back in its opening weekend. Well, it's going to make its budget back in its opening weekend. It's well received by both audiences and critics, and yet it's still a failure. Let's just be so effing for real. The goalposts just keep on getting moved by the haters. I've seen enough. This movie is a success. I wouldn't say this movie's a success just yet. It had a successful opening weekend. I can say that. But in order for it to be an actual box office success, it's got to get upwards of 400, 500, 600 million. I still think, call me crazy, but I still think this movie could make $1 billion. I know that it only made less than 200 million in its opening weekend, but it could have a lot of legs. This is a movie that's going to be in IMAX for the next 3 weekends. It has the IMAX slot for 4 weeks. And it's a very rewatchable movie. I've already gotten plans to go rewatch it for a 3rd time this coming weekend, and I've already seen a bunch of you guys saying the same thing. But having said that, I'm a little crazy. Even if it doesn't make $1 billion, that does not mean it's not successful. But we've already talked about that. But yes, it does seem like the goalposts just continue to move. Because at first, it was only going to make $70 million, and it was going to be a disaster. And then it's going to make $80 million, and it was going to be a disaster. Now it made $102 million, and it's still a disaster. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Some people just will never be pleased. Okay, so that is The Mandalorian and Grogu of it all. In terms of future storytelling, this is what Jon Favreau had to say. So before we get to Ahsoka Season 2, let's talk about this. Jon Favreau on the future of The Mandalorian and Grogu characters. So here's what he had to say. I think about it creatively. And so for me, it's like a garden or a greenhouse with all different storylines and characters. I see opportunities in all of them because these storylines have taken on a life of their own. And I love the progression of these characters. And I like to think forward as to what the next step is for both of them, Din and Grogu. It's a wide open canvas. So my question to you, Chet, is will we get... Actually, let me phrase it differently. Where will we see Din and Grogu next? Will it be Ahsoka Season 2? Will it be Dave Filoni's Mando movie? Are we going to get a Mandalorian Season 4? I really don't think that the Mandalorian Season 4 is ever going to happen. And here's why. The same complaint that fans had about the Book of Boba Fett and the fact that you have to watch the Book of Boba Fett to watch Mando Season 3, which, isn't that big of a deal. But the same people who are complaining about that are going to complain 10 times the amount if you have to have watched the Mandalorian and Grogu movie before watching Season 4, in between Season 3 and 4. So it just becomes a lot more confusing in the timeline if that's the case. Also, this movie did not set up a Season 4. It could have, but it didn't. It set up a giant power vacuum in the galaxy with the twin Hutts dying and the Hutts being taken out of power, which hasn't happened in thousands of years in the criminal underworld. So it has created this huge power vacuum. Now 3, yeah, that's right, Moff Gideon, Commander Coin, and Commander Barrow at the beginning of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Sorry, Chad, I'm losing my voice today. I don't know what it is. Hang on a sec.
This is where the fun begins.
3, Shadow Council members are now dead. Even more of a power vacuum in the Empire side of things. Grand Admiral Thrawn is coming in to fill that vacuum, to fill that space in the Outer Rim where the Hutts controlled. And that's the setup for Ahsoka Season 2. That's the setup for Dave Filoni's movie. But for a Mando Season 4, there is no setup. So yes, I do think we will see these characters again. Maybe in Ahsoka Season 2, although that seems unlikely. But we do know Zeb's going to be in Season 2. And now maybe Rada. But either way, maybe in Ahsoka Season 2, but more likely in Dave Filoni's movie. That's where we're at. So in terms of the future of these characters, it's not like we're never going to see them again. Jon Favreau also probably has a ton of ideas in mind already, but I don't think it will be in a Mando Season 4 setting. But tell me in the chat, where do you think we will see Din Djarin and Grogu next in the Star Wars timeline? Ooh, Boba Fett Season 2. Interesting. Boba Fett Season 2. I'd love to see that. Again, giant power vacuum in the underworld. Boba Fett took over Jabba's palace and is now a crime lord in the underworld. So with the twin Hutts dying, the twin Hutts being main characters of that first season of the Book of Boba Fett, that will affect Boba in a big, big way. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Book of Boba Fett Season 2 with Din and Grogu in it. I wouldn't mind that at all. I've always said that the Book of Boba Fett has the most opportunity for a second season. The most broad options for a second season. Yeah. We need a Din Djarin and Bo-Katan love story. I still don't know what they're going to do with the Mandalorians. Specifically Bo-Katan. Because, yes, in Season 3, they reclaimed their home world, and now you just assume that they're building up their home world right now. But at some point, those characters will be called upon to come take down Grand Admiral Thrawn. And Maybe it's in Dave Filoni's movie. Maybe it's in a third movie of the Mandoverse. I don't know. But we still can't really cross out the idea that The Mandalorian and Grogu is the beginning of a trilogy. I know it has a happy ending. I know it has an ending. But so did A New Hope. So did The Phantom Menace. They have a medal ceremony at the end of A New Hope. They have this massive parade on Naboo and a giant celebration at the end of The Phantom Menace. So it's not impossible to still have this Mandalorian and Grogu movie be the beginning of a new trilogy, especially with Dave Filoni's movie coming not too far behind it. So with the Heir to the Empire, with the Grand Admiral Thrawn story, this could still be our first introduction to it. Just like the Emperor is not even in A New Hope, and he's the main villain of the entire trilogy, Grand Admiral Thrawn is not in The Mandalorian and Grogu. It would still work. Now, having said that, let's switch our gears a little bit here to Ahsoka Season 2. Because we got a couple things with Ahsoka Season 2. One, the budget. We were just talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu budget. Now we're talking Ahsoka Season 2 budget. And another one is a leak that we talked about a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago, I guess now, with a new version of a lightsaber, which we'll get to. Acolyte Season 2 would have been sick. Yeah. Don't have to tell me twice. Don't have to tell me twice. Okay, so the Ahsoka Season 2 leaks and budget. Let's talk about it. So this article dropped from Forbes.com. Disney reveals Star Wars spinoff Ahsoka is 30% cheaper than The Acolyte. Speaking of The Acolyte, The Acolyte has become infamous for many different things, but one of them being extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. Pre-production of the second season of Star Wars streaming show Ahsoka cost around 30% less than the sum spent on its counterpart, The Acolyte, according to recent released files. Released in 2024, The Acolyte became one of the most controversial installments in Disney's Star Wars saga. Before the show even launched to the Disney platform, there was a disturbance in the Force. And it was branded woke due to a diverse female-led cast. This was supposedly the driving force behind its ratings and review aggregators on Rotten Tomatoes plummeting when it launched. It came out to a 13% on its before it even released. Before anybody had seen a single actual scene from the show, it had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Can I get some good cups follow orders in the chat, please? Bum-ba. Okay. Just a day after its debut of The Acolyte's first episode, its audience score stood at a 50%. But even a darker cloud, so it went from a 13% to a 50% after just one episode. But even a darker cloud soon began to gather. Overwhelmingly negative reviews flooded in The Acolyte, leaving it with a score of 19% now, which is lower than the notorious 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special. The low score was attributed to unjustified review bombing, with the key evidence for this being that the show's Rotten Tomatoes critic score stands at a more respectable 79%. Really? I did not know that the critic score was actually that high. However, the proof in the pudding was the size of the audience, as the show only hit 7th place on the Nielsen Top 10 original charts as it in its premiere week with 488 million minutes viewed. It climbed one spot in the second week, but then experienced a dramatic fall from grace as it exited the list. In short, the show simply didn't have the public appeal. I have zero arguments with that. All of that is true. It has the review bombing. It has the views. 100%. I still want an Acolyte season 2, but I understand why it got canceled. I'm not crazy. Well, I guess I'm not that crazy. I still want an Acolyte season 2, but I understand why it's not getting a second season. And again, if you're going to go watch a show and you see that that show has a 19% from audiences, you're probably not going to go watch that show. Just saying. I'm not saying that the views are wrong, but just saying. The clearest evidence that it wasn't a commercial success came when Disney's Lucasfilm division scrapped plans for the second season just over a month after the curtains came down on the first season. And it wasn't just because of the audience and the audience's English. As this report revealed, the Mandalorian, the Acolyte stayed within its spending levels before filming began, but blew its budget after the cameras started rolling. It ended up with a cost of $230.9 million. For reference, the movie we just watched, the 2.5-hour Star Wars film that we just watched, cost $165 million. That's crazy. That is crazy. Again, I don't know where this money is going. Yes, the Acolyte has incredible lightsaber duels, incredible visuals, but so does the Mandalorian. Well, it doesn't have lightsaber duels, but so does the Mandalorian, the visual side of it, and crazy action sequences nonetheless. So where is that money going? I guess is my question. The Acolyte was made in the United Kingdom, which shines a spotlight on its costs. When studios film streaming shows in the United States, they tend to combine the cost of them in their filings and don't break out the spending of each one. It's a different story in the UK. Studios filming in the UK get a reimbursement of up to 25.5% of the money that they spend in the country, provided that at least 10% of the core costs are incurred there. So they made 25.5% of the money back. Interesting. In order to demonstrate this to the authorities, studios set up separate companies to produce each film in the UK, and they are obligated to file legally binding earnings releases. Sure. They show everything from a head count to salaries to total costs to the level of cash reimbursements. The company usually have code names so that they don't raise any attention to fans when filing for permits on location. The Acolyte was made by Disney's subsidiary Blue Stockings, which is believed to be a reference to the show's leading lady, as the term refers to the educated intellectual female member of the 18th century Blue Stockings Society from England, led by the critic Elizabeth Montague. Ahsoka, too, has a female lead, but unlike the Acolyte, she is a fan favorite called Ahsoka Tano. No way! Ahsoka has Ahsoka Tano in it? The character made her debut in 2008's animated feature film, The Clone Wars Movie, which has gone on to become, also one of the lowest rated things ever. She was introduced as a 14-year-old apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Master who turned to the dark side and became the iconic Star Wars villain of Darth Vader. Famous for her zebra-striped headdress, which splits into two, Ahsoka has a strong command of the mystical force and is often seen wielding two lightsabers. Audiences liked the character so much in the Clone Wars that Disney commissioned a live-action series all about Ahsoka, which released in 2023. It was filmed in Los Angeles with the same LED screen set, or the volume, which was used to great effect in other Disney Star Wars spinoffs like The Mandalorian. And there's Anakin Skywalker. Set after the events of Return of the Jedi, the third film in the original trilogy, Star Wars original trilogy, Ahsoka's star, Rosario Dawson, is the titular role alongside of Lars Mikkelsen, David Tennant, and Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, a role he first played in the prequel movies 2 decades earlier. The show follows Ahsoka and her Jedi apprentice Sabine Wren, who are stranded in a foreign galaxy, while the remnant of the evil Galactic Empire launch an uprising against the heroic New Republic. So this is sort of the plot of Season 2. In stark contrast to The Acolyte, the Force was strong with this show. Disney announced that the first episode had 14 million views in its first 5 days following the release, making it the most watched title on Disney Plus during the week of its launch. The studio defined views as total stream time divided by runtime, which the Hollywood Reporter claimed was equivalent to 784 million minutes of viewing. Nielsen added that the first 2 episodes were watched by 829 million minutes during its first 5 days, putting Ahsoka in second place on the list for original series. The series dropped down on that list for the following weeks, but remained in the top 10 for each episode, unlike The Acolyte. It returned to second place for the week of its finale, even though the audience only rated the series a 64 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's insane. Critics were a little more generous, giving a 85%, and this made a sequel all but inevitable. Also, I think the 64 has a lot to do with Sabine Wren using the Force, but I guess that's a conversation for another time. In January of 2024, Lucasfilm announced that the second season was in the works and will have 8 episodes just like its predecessor. However, this one was filmed in the UK, not in Los Angeles, and the company behind it is called Robot Dog Pictures, believed to be a nod to Hu Yang, Ahsoka's loyal droid companion, who is metaphorically the faithful hound of her journey. Robot Dog Pictures. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. After The Acolyte blew its budget, Disney made sure it didn't make the same mistake again. Recently filed financial statements for Robot Dog Pictures show that in the year to February 28th, 2025, the company spent $33.3 million, with only tiny expenses of $40,676, the previous year. Principal photography began 2 months after that date of the latest filing, so they give the almost complete picture of the pre-production costs of Ahsoka Season 2. In contrast, it is almost at the same time period, $42.4 million was spent on The Acolyte. One of the biggest single costs during that time was the $5 million paid to the production crew, and an average of 62 workers on The Acolyte every month compared to just 34, almost half the workers, for the second season of Ahsoka. The next filing for Robot Dog Pictures will be for the 12 months on February 28th, 2026, and will cover the entire filming period. So wouldn't that already be out by now? As well as a good deal of post-production. These documents won't be available until later this year. Okay, but a glimpse into how many staff were included during this period have been found now in the UK in separate UK filings. They show that on April 5th, 2025, around 3 weeks before filming began, 406 staff were employed to work on Ahsoka Season 2. 42% of them were female. Cool. 406 staff members. The key cast members will return for Ahsoka Season 2, and all episodes have been written by the showrunner, Lucasfilm president, Dave Filoni. So, let's get down here. So, the filings bring in a net spent of $28.3 million, whereas The Acolyte settled at $35.9 million in the corresponding period, which is a 30% increase. Or decrease, I should say. So, I don't know, your guess is as good as mine, how this is possible. Look at it this way. The Mandalorian and Grogu has almost half the budget of Solo. Now, Ahsoka's numbers, as of right now, for Season 2, are 30% less than The Acolyte, which came out only 2 years ago. So how are they doing this? I guess is my first question. How is this possible? It is a good look for the future, because if you're obviously making a movie, making a show, making anything for less, then you don't have to make nearly as much money on the back end. Maybe somehow, some way, with the new leadership shifts at Disney and at Lucasfilm, they've found a way to do things on the cheaper end. Let's not forget the sequel trilogy movies cost upwards of $350 million. I believe The Force Awakens, cost like $400 million? Let's see. Whoa, I was wrong. Holy crap. The Force Awakens had a net production budget of approximately $533 to $536 million. That's insane. That's insane. You put that up against The Mandalorian, which is 165. How is this even possible? How are we getting to these numbers? Did every water bottle cost $1 million on the set of the Force Awakens? What happened? Either way, this is great news for the future of Star Wars content, because in order for that movie to be profitable, it did make $2 billion. But in order for it to be profitable, it would have to have made $1 billion to break even. And you can't live like that. You can't make money off a movie when your budget is $500 million. So the idea that Ahsoka Season 2 has 30% less the budget, or the budget right now is 30% less of the Acolyte, and The Mandalorian and Grogu is far less than half of the sequel movies, almost half of Solo. This is a great look for future movies and the possibility of making more money as a company for Lucasfilm. I don't know how they're doing it. I haven't a clue. I have not a clue. Because it's not like the production value has gone down. It's not like visually it got so much worse. It's not like everything has cratered. It still looks great. So I don't know. True Squadron brings up the point of the volume. The Mandalorian and Grogu probably used a lot of the volume. Yes, but not really. Jon Favreau talks about this all the time on how many practical sets they actually built for this movie. The entire swamp sequences of Din and Grogu on Nal Hutta in the jungle, all of that was practical. They built this massive warehouse where you can see the inner workings of the jungle of Nal Hutta. Obviously, a lot of, I assume, well, we just saw actually right here that Navarro, at least Din Djarin's homestead, is very practical as well and on location. This is the sky behind them, so they're outside. There's blue screen there for the horizon, I suppose. But for the most part, his house and everything surrounding it is practical. You could also put into effect that a lot of the sets have already been built, or costumes have already been built for season 1, 2, and 3 of The Mandalorian. But they also had to pay to make 3 fully CGI Hutts and Zeb fighting in this movie. There's only 7 speaking human roles in this film. So a lot of it is CGI or puppet work, which I guess puppet work would not cost as much, but still. You know how much it must cost to get this giant thing to just say action? I still don't get it. Why is that thing so comically large? But all that to say, somehow, some way, they accomplished this at such a small budget, not $500 million like The Force Awakens was. That's crazy. That's insane. That's so crazy. I don't know how that's possible. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But staying on the lines of Ahsoka Season 2, let's take a look at this. Just because the budget is less does not mean that the production scale is going down. Ahsoka Season 1 versus Ahsoka Season 2. Remember, Rosario Dawson said that there's a smaller budget, and how Dave Filoni joked about seeing Loath Kittens merch to pay for this show. Well, that may be true, but there's there are reasons why I've been saying that you don't need to be worried about this. The perfect example is shown below. The backlot set of Season 2 may be 3 to 4 times the size of the one used in the previous season. And whereas the first season had a small backlot and a small volume set, this season has a huge backlot, a full soundstage set, and multiple other locations for the planets. So maybe filming in the United Kingdom is a lot cheaper than Los Angeles, but that still doesn't explain the Acolyte, because the Acolyte was filmed in the United Kingdom as well. But what they're talking about there is this. This is Season 1 versus Season 2. This backlot area with all the blue screen and all the noti and all that stuff. This fight in the finale, or second to last episode. And then this. Second season, this is, again, as they say, 3 or 4 times bigger the size. And this is supposed to be pretty as well. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Continuing. Built sets, painted backdrops, crowd scenes, more of that to come. More on that. For a production given less, it's certainly used more. And the move to the UK is a big reason for that. They were able to relocate money more strategically. For one, the UK got one of the most aggressive film/TV rebate setups. Productions can get, I think, around 25% cash rebate on qualified budgetary spending, which we talked about earlier. So even if the budget technically is smaller, it goes way further because you're getting 25% of that back just for filming in the United Kingdom. Other reasons for this Peridia set specifically is they already designed the location for Season 1, so you're not having to rebuild the sets for Season 2. Again, an argument that I made when the Acolyte got canceled. Because if you want to make an Acolyte Season 2, it's not going to cost nearly as much because you have all the costumes already made. You have so many of the sets already created. You don't have to spend nearly as much. I'm sure Season 2 would have spent a lot of time on Coruscant with Vanestra Rowe. It would have spent a lot of time on Baldemnik with Osha and the Stranger and Plagueis, hopefully. But I digress. They can reuse, rebuild, and upscale existing assets when planning. Departments already know what worked and what didn't work, and Dave Filoni himself is just more experienced now. So all in all, the season is going to be have a massive scope, a war in our Star Wars, with collaborations between both on-set and VFX teams. So don't worry about the budget being lower, if that's a concern, I suppose. The definition, or the description, I should say, of Ahsoka Season 2, in terms of scale, not only are we getting the said war in our Star Wars, Grand Admiral Thrawn versus Admiral Akbar, the heir to the Empire versus the New Republic, but in a completely different galaxy, we are also getting Ahsoka. Hopefully, an explanation of the Mortis gods. Hopefully, Abeloth with Baylan Skoll and Sabine training Anakin Skywalker. Hayden Christensen is confirmed to be in this second season way more than he was in Season 1. He's already confirmed to be in the second... Confirmed by Lucasfilm, by Dave Filoni himself, to be in this second season a lot. And the leaked teaser trailer that we got the description of from a couple weeks back did tell us that Anakin Skywalker will be in this second season and be... It said he was wearing a different outfit that we've never seen before. So it wasn't the Clone Wars outfit. It wasn't his Jedi robes. It's a different outfit. And it didn't look like he was playing a Force ghost. So whatever the hell's going on there, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Could be some sort of like Mortis, different realm type thing like we saw in the Clone Wars. Could be a flashback. I don't know. But he's wearing a different outfit from what we've ever seen before, and he's going to be in this season a lot more than in Season 1. So the scope, the scale of Season 2 is way bigger than Season 1. It's way bigger than most Star Wars projects have ever been. Season 1 is way bigger than most Star Wars projects have ever been. It introduced a brand new galaxy, All Star Wars stories for 49 years have been inside this one galaxy, and Ahsoka broadened the horizon quite a bit. Intergalactic space travel on Purgle with the Eye of Sion, explaining where the Night Sisters come from and why they use the Force so differently. And now season 2 is going to take that to the whole nother level. Insane. Insane. When you talk about Star Wars projects that have added to the lore of Star Wars in the biggest ways, it's Clone Wars, and then it's Ahsoka, season 1. That's it. And then I guess Rebels with the Loth Wolves and the World Between Worlds and all that stuff. But it's Clone Wars because of all the Mortis God stuff, all the Force Ghost stuff with Yoda in season 6, and then it's Ahsoka. And season 2 is just going to build upon that way more. Okay. But getting to this. Yeah. The article we just read about it being 30% cheaper than the Acolyte. Despite this article reading as nothing less than a jab at the Acolyte, I do think it's worth reminding everybody that yes, Ahsoka Season 2 was done for less money in the UK, which has incentives on film and TV productions, with crew that have worked on many of the Star Wars films. It talked a bit about this. I talked a bit about this on this post from a month ago, so see replies. If not, about how much to spend and how well to spend it. From everything we've seen and been told, money is well spent on season 2. So don't be concerned about it being a lesser show. This is indeed where the fun begins.
This is where the fun begins.
Most of the stuff in Ahsoka was introduced in animation. Most of the characters, sure. But Peridia has never been touched by anything except for Ahsoka. That's where we first saw. Oh my God, is that a bruise? I was playing basketball yesterday, was it? And I fell and I didn't realize that I had a huge bruise on my elbow. Jesus. Okay. Let me stretch again, see if I notice anything. Oh my God, is my arm broken? Okay. Sorry, I got way too distracted by that. No wonder my elbow was hurting this morning. That makes so much sense now. Okay. That makes so much sense now. Okay, getting to the leaks of it all. So obviously that budget leaks, all that great stuff. But in terms of the actual leaks for Ahsoka that we talked about, I don't know, last week, 2 weeks ago? I don't even know what day it is anymore. But in terms of the leaks that we talked about a couple weeks ago, possibly last week, but I don't remember, where there was a new looking lightsaber, is how it was described, I believe. Let me pull this up really quickly. So we learned a lot from the teaser trailer that was shown to people in attendance at this Disney upfront event. And the people who were there got to see this teaser trailer, but we did not. And the description of it was revealed. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Hang on. Nope, that's not it either. Where the hell is this thing? Hello? Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is what we read last week. Footage was shown. It was short but sweet. Shots of Sabine reverse gripping on a lightsaber, just like her master. A lot of Hayden as Anakin. Anakin in a new costume. Wasn't a Force ghost, at least not visibly. So it could just be the VFX that are not done yet, or it's an entirely new costume. Epic battles, space battles were shown, lightsaber combat, and quote, there was a lightsaber. It does not seem like something we've ever seen on screen. Lightsabers of all shapes and flavors. And Ezra was in the teaser as well. So, this thought of there being a lightsaber that we've never seen before on screen, something like we've never seen before, has been rattling in my mind for the last 2 weeks or whatever it's been. And now we actually have some answers to what this might be entailing. because we got some concept art images from Ahsoka Season 2 many moons ago. One of those concept art images was of the character of Enoch. Enoch was in Season 1 of Ahsoka. He was sort of Thrawn's right-hand man to an extent, at least on Peridea. But take a look at this. This on the right was the concept art image of Enoch slicing down a New Republic soldier. On the left is a shirt for the crew. It says actually Stormtrooper Unit 2025 for Ahsoka Season 2. And you have the gold Imperial symbol with the Stormtrooper helmet on top of it. But right in the middle is this staff-like thing that Enoch is holding, with not a lightsaber, but a flaming blade nonetheless. This clearly is some Night Sister magic going on here. We're going to get a ton of Night Sisters in this second season. All those crates that Thrawn brought over from Peridea are all either sleeping or dead Night Sisters that will be brought back to life or woken up. And though we got to see what the Night Sisters were capable of in the Clone Wars and now in Ahsoka, where they gave Morgan Elsbeth this incredible power with the Night Sister magic, giving her the blade of Mother Talzin to fight Ahsoka. Now, she did lose to Ahsoka, but they're not fighting Ahsoka in the second season. They're fighting the New Republic. They're fighting just random New Republic guards like Enoch is slicing down right here. Yes, Ezra Bridger, but other than him, it's just normal people. It's not a Force user like Ahsoka. So, when they have Night Sister weapons like this, which can only be described as something we've never seen before, then it's going to be pretty tough to compete with that. This is why Thrawn is going to make an incredible villain in the second season and going to get a massive win and take control of the at least Outer Rim. The Hutt space that now has this massive power vacuum because all those Hutts that were in the Hutt Palace in The Mandalorian and Grogu are now dead. The twin Hutts who were in charge of Hutt space are gone. And Rada, the living heir to the Jabba throne and the Hutt throne, doesn't want to be a part of that. That power vacuum will be filled by Grand Admiral Thrawn and these Night Sisters, his army of Night Sisters. It does seem like a bad news scenario for people who want the Ysalamari. Because in Legends, the Ysalamari are what Thrawn uses so that he can repel the Force. It's this little lizard that sits on his shoulder, and it pretty much puts this bubble around, invisible bubble, where you can't use the Force in that area. So the reason that Thrawn can go toe-to-toe with Jorah Sabaoth or Luke Skywalker in Legends is because of those creatures. And as of now, those creatures have not been introduced into the canon of Star Wars. There's a tease to them in Rebels, but other than that, they have not been introduced. So it seems to me that they are replacing the Ysalamari with Night Sisters. And Night Sisters will be able to protect Thrawn in different ways, maybe even imbue him specifically with Night Sister magic. Imagine they like Savage Opress. You just get a beefy, bulked up Thrawn. Because Savage Opress is like a skinny looking dude, and then they put the Night Sisters in, Night Sister magic in him, pause, and he gets like really beefy. Imagine. But either way, I don't think they'll be giving us the Ysalamari in canon. Instead, they're just going to give us Night Sisters, and a lot of them. I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of crates that Thrawn brings over from Peridea. Yeah. This isn't Star Wars? Pretty sure it is. Am I live streaming on the wrong channel? Is this the guy who loves Star Wars? Are we talking about... Wait, Ahsoka Season 2. It's Star Wars, right? Are we good? Okay. Jeez, Chad, you're trying to confuse me. Trying to confuse me today. Mike, any thoughts on who might die? in Ahsoka Season 2. Please don't kill off Ahsoka or Baylan, LOL. Well, those would have been my first two options. Now, Baylan is probably likely a goner. Ahsoka, not so much. I don't think Ahsoka will die in the second season, but she may not be in anything else. How do I put this? I don't think Ahsoka's coming back to the main galaxy. I think Sabine does. I think Huge Wang does. But Ahsoka, no. I think she's going to ascend to something more important. She is the living embodiment of the light side of the Force. The daughter of the Mortis gods has been put inside of her. Whoa.
Incorrect.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Not what I meant. Not what I meant. In the Clone Wars, Ahsoka is dying. And Anakin saves her by putting the life essence of the daughter inside of us. I can't say it without it sounding horrible. I'm sorry, Chad. It's just what happened, okay? It's just how it went down. I don't know what else to tell you. So she is, by every definition, the living embodiment of the light side of the Force. So I think she will become, or take up that role. I don't think she's coming back. I think she has a greater purpose, just like Anakin Skywalker does. And it will not only explain why Ahsoka's not in the sequel trilogy, but also why Anakin's not in the sequel trilogy. And before you start saying, Mike, you're an idiot, Anakin's dead. Yes, but why doesn't his Force Ghost show up? His Force Ghost is at the end of Episode 6 on Endor. Where does he go? Why doesn't he come help Luke? Why doesn't he come help Kylo Ren? Why doesn't he come help at all? Because he's doing something else. He's doing something far more important. And that's what I think Season 2 of Ahsoka is going to show us. That Anakin and Ahsoka are not going to be there to help take down Grand Admiral Thrawn. They're not going to be there to help stop the First Order or the return of Palpatine, because they are doing something even more important in a different galaxy. Or maybe even in a different realm. They might go into the Mortis realm or something along those lines. Yeah. Either way, I don't think Ahsoka will die in Season 2. Baylan, on the other hand, I could see it. Depending on what we're going to. Depending on who is calling out to him. If it is Abeloth, I could see Abeloth killing him. Unless he becomes like the son. Unless it's like Ahsoka's the daughter, Anakin's the father, and then Baylan's the son. But I don't know. I think Baylan is definitely on the high likelihood of dying. In terms of the other galaxy, though, in terms of our main galaxy, I think the most likely character to die is Hera Syndulla. Hera Syndulla is the most likely for me because, for many reasons, it would be the biggest win for Thrawn. She is the mom of the Ghost Crew, the mom literally to Jason Syndulla, could lead to Jason Syndulla going down a dark path, which would be awesome. Sorry. But Hera versus Thrawn. This rivalry has been going on since Rebels, and to see Thrawn get the upper hand on that would cause for so many people to want to kill Thrawn. It would make Thrawn's death feel more deserved when it eventually happens. Now, I still believe that Thrawn's going to hopefully be the Thrawn that he is in the books, which is protecting his people and not just a bad guy for bad guy's sake. Still think he's going to kill Hera Syndulla, but it'll just cause for Ezra, Jason, Zeb, even Sabine, if she comes back to the main galaxy, to be even more upset at Thrawn. So if you want my death predictions, it's Baylan Skoll and it's Hera Syndulla. That's all I got for you. May not be the ones you wanted to hear, but that's definitely the case. Okay, so this mysterious lightsaber-like weapon that we've never seen before is likely this, from the concept art images of Enoch wielding a Night Sister blade that's literally flaming with Night Sister magic, sort of a staff-like thing that we've never seen before. And that, my friends, is going to be insane. Because not just this weapon, but you gotta assume that every Night Sister that we're gonna see in Ahsoka Season 2 will have some sort of weapon of that caliber. Some sort of lightsaber-esque weapon. This girl right here seems to be holding two in her hands. You can't see what they are, but they seem to be, this one at least, glowing with a little bit of green right there. So they're all going to have some sort of crazy weapon that can compete with a lightsaber. And not much can compete with a lightsaber. So the Night Sisters are going to be the real deal in this second season. And these leaks are just, again, making sure we know that. We know that they're going to have the bow and arrows that we've seen in the Clone Wars, but I'm thinking more like the swords that we saw Mork and Elsbeth have that can compete against a lightsaber. And let's not forget that Hugh Wang is going to be General Grievous in the second season as well. Call-ins, Mike? Yeah, let me open up the call-in portion for sure. If you are not yet in the Discord, there's a link in the description below to a Discord called The People Who Love Star Wars. Go join it immediately. I'm going to open up a stage in there called Call-ins, and you can join that stage and raise your hand, and we will do some call-ins, talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, talk about some Ahsoka Season 2 predictions if you got any, and we'll just talk about Star Wars. And after we do these call-ins, I want to talk about Cal Kestis and Star Wars Starfighter. So let's get into these call-ins for sure. Yeah, all right, that stage is open. You got to come in and raise your hand so I can select you to come on in. Come on down. Come on down. Darth Harrison Dula is in the chat. You got to love that. I don't think she'll make it to becoming a Sith Lord, but, you know, Abeloth would be great. But not to forget that Abeloth is much bigger than anything in Star Wars. So even though it would be cool, it's out of everyone's league just saying we need a universe for the sequel trilogy. Yeah, I think it will be Abeloth that is calling out to Baylan Skoll. But we are also going to see Abeloth not be freed. So like Abeloth will be the person calling to Baylan Skoll, but she won't be freed. Because Ahsoka and Sabine and Huyang will stop Baylan from his mission. And then, because they will find out how big a threat Abeloth is, and that maybe she can call out to other people to come free her, Ahsoka will have to pretty much stand as a guard in front of this prison that Abeloth is in for eternity. Because somebody else, like Baylan, will be called to and try to come free her. So I think the reason that Abeloth can still be in Ahsoka Season 2 and not be in the sequel trilogy is because she does not get freed. So I agree with you. Abeloth is far too powerful to be let free, but I don't think she's going to make it to that point. Yeah. Maybe we could get an ancient Zepho lightsaber. I'd love some Zepho connections. I really would. I really, really would. But I don't know if that's the route that they're going to go down. Because the Zepho only exists in the Cal Kestis Jedi games. That's it. That's the only place they exist. So that would be adding a whole, like even, at least the Night Sisters are in the Clone Wars, and we've seen them before. The Zepho, to most fans, are a completely new concept. Even the Mortis Gods, they're seen in Rebels and in the Clone Wars. Yeah. Robotic Pope says, creatively bankrupt when all Disney can do is steal from the old EU stories. Ironic. So the complaint before was they have all these great EU ideas. They have the Old Republic. They have all the Heir to the Empire stuff. They have all these other ideas. And the complaint was because Kathleen Kennedy said that we're not like Marvel. We don't have all these years and years of comics, when people were like, yeah, you do. You have the extended universe. The complaint was, why don't they tap into those? Why don't they give us the fan favorite characters of Mara Jade and Revan and Thrawn and Bane and all these characters that everybody knows and loves? And now when they do that, the complaint is that they're out of ideas. Ironic. Can never win with some of these people, you know? Never enough. Yeah. Ahsoka saves Cal Kestis using the World Between Worlds before the planet blows up. What planet blows up? What are you talking about? Oh, Alderaan. Cal Kestis dies on Alderaan. He doesn't die on Alderaan. At least that we know of yet. Some people just like to complain. I mean, I like to complain. I don't know what I like to complain about, but I do like to complain. Yeah. I'm hungry. Boom. Complaint. Done. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Speaking of Cal Kestis, might as well make the crossover. Might as well take the crossover, shall we? Okay. So Cal Kestis, let's talk about this. First of all, we have yet to get any update on Jedi 3, which, you know, kind of a bummer so far. But Jedi 3, Lucasfilm reaffirms that more Cal Kestis stories are a-coming. We know that Cameron Monaghan is, of course, the voice and face of the legendary character Cal Kestis, so it would be very easy to make him a live-action character. However, we don't know what his character is up to at this point in the timeline. We don't know where he is during the Mandoverse. But a new corporate statement that confirms that Star Wars character Cal Kestis' journey is nowhere near its conclusion. During a discussion regarding the popular theme park attraction at Disneyland, a representative of Lucasfilm made it clear that additional narratives focused on the redhead survivor are currently in development. This corporate tease confirms that the protagonist will remain a major pillar of the modern Star Wars landscape for the foreseeable future. The character's popularity has reached a level where his presence is felt across multiple digital and physical media. Even people who have not played the Jedi games know who Cal Kestis is. You know? So he is a character who, if he shows up in live action, yeah, you're going to have to explain to normie fans who he is, but for the most part, people will recognize him and go, oh my God, that's Cal Kestis. And hopefully he's got BD1 on his shoulder too. Following Disney's purchase of the Star Wars brand, a strict rule was established, making all theatrical release, television shows, literature, and interactive electronic games part of a single, cohesive narrative timeline, or canon, as we call it. This unified approach means that the events of the interactive media carry the same weight as those live-action blockbusters. Historically, original characters created specifically for interactive formats were often kept separate from the main cinematic entries. For example, Galen Merrick, Starkiller. He is not a part of the main canon of Star Wars, although he is in a very, very, very cool video game. Or, another great example, KOTOR, the Knights of the Old Republic. Not in the canon of Star Wars, but a very, very cool video game. And there's many reasons as to why those characters are not canon. Specifically, Galen, because, you know, he's way too powerful. And, you know, also, yeah, he's ridiculously powerful and Vader's apprentice when Vader can't have apprentices. Oh, we got a call-in. Wait a second, we got call-ins. Whoa. Wait. Okay, we'll keep reading this in a second, but I got to get Brandon on in here. Brandon Baker. Let's get you on in here. Brandon.
There we go.
There we go.
So,
What did you think of the... Well, have you seen the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? And if so, what did you think?
Yes, I have seen it.
Nice. How
It's
many
really good.
times?
It's about to be my third time.
Third time?
After this. Yes.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good movie overall. I
Nice.
liked it.
Any favorite scenes?
Oh, definitely the Coliseum scene. I love that scene.
Yeah, that's a
It's
great
one
one.
of my favorite. Yeah.
It's cool callback to the hollow chest stuff, and once like they broke out and started attacking the people, it was even cooler.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character in the movie? Is the real question everybody wants to know.
I like Seb and Omber Rada Omber Hut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rada,
I like that.
Rada steals the show
Yeah.
for sure, and seeing Zeb in live action is always great. We're gonna see him again in Ahsoka season 2.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I'm
which
excited
is
to see.
yeah, which is even cooler too. I
Yep.
guess since we're on the Cal Kestis of it all,
Mm-hmm.
do you think
Yes.
we will see Cal Kestis in live action? And if so, when?
I think eventually we'll see him in live action. It just depends on where they have to set it up for.
Yeah.
So.
There's still the third game, so we'll see where he ends off in that.
Yeah, true. It's gonna
Yeah.
be a lot of outcomes too, so
True. Well, Brandon, I appreciate the call in today. I really, really do. We'll see if we can get some other people in here as well.
Yep.
Any final thoughts on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, or Ahsoka season 2, or Cal Kestis, or Star Wars in general?
I think if I have some final thoughts. I'm definitely excited for Ahsoka season 2. I'm ready to see what they'll show for next year. Because I'm excited to see more Thrawn, obviously. And plus like a lot more scenes and stuff too. I was
Yeah.
definitely impressed just by how they did the whole movie too. So yeah, I like certain aspects of it too. And I thought like all of it is pretty cool.
27 is going to be a
Yeah.
great year as well.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Brandon. Get you on out of here.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have fun watching it for a third time, Brandon. That'll be awesome. I got to go get my tickets for my third time too. But yeah, 2027 is going to be crazy, as Brandon pointed out there. Maul Shadow Lord season 2, Ahsoka season 2, Starfighter, which we got to get to today too. It's going to be a wild, wild year. Absolutely. And yes, Rada is the GOAT. He steals that show, which, by the way, the people who love Star Wars were predicting that he was going to be a main character in this show. So you got to love that. You gots to love that. If you want to do a call-in, the call-in portion is open in the Discord. I will try to keep my eye on it. I was not. I lied. But I will try to from here on out. Going back to this article, though, while we wait. The video games before were not a part of the canon because they couldn't have been. Now that everything that Star Wars is producing, except for Visions, is canon, the video games, the Battlefront games, the Jedi games, Star Wars Outlaws, all the characters and the plot of those games does exist inside of this canon of Star Wars. So for Cal Kestis to appear, it's very likely. However, the immense success of recent gaming projects has forced creative executives to reconsider how these different branches of the galaxy interact with one another, because fans have been begging for this guy right here to come to live action. Never say never. So here's what the Disney representative had to say. Never say never. We've got his lightsaber in the parks, and we got more Cal Kestis stories coming. So not just Jedi 3, but more stories in particular coming. Obviously, his lightsaber has been at Disney parks for a long time. That's, nice to see, because it's been teasing that we're going to see him in live action for a long time. But this direct confirmation was shared at by a Disney representative during a conversation with Game Rant, which is GameRant.com is what we're reading this on right now, indicating a strong corporate commitment to this hero's future. Long before his teaser, the character first appeared in 2019 as a young protagonist navigating the dangerous aftermath of the heroic Jedi Purge in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Since then, his journey has been fleshed out across multiple game entries developed by Respawn Entertainment, including the sequel, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, as well as a tie-in literary project penned by author Sam Maggs. despite being a wanted fugitive for whose face is scattered across Imperial hubs, the hero has managed to remain hidden from the main live-action Star Wars or live-action television shows and films. Up until recently, his only technical appearance outside of video games occurred in 2025's animated streaming project LEGO Rebuild the Galaxy. And the thing with LEGO Rebuild the Galaxy is it's a time travel multiverse show that, to my knowledge, is not canon, where actor Cameron Monaghan provided the voice for the brick-based version of the hero trapped in the multiversal prison. So we've been impatiently waiting, most of us, for this character to appear in live action. And yet, we keep waiting. I think they're waiting for the third installment of the game to release before we get him in any live action projects, because that game likely will come out next year. If it's on the same schedule as the first two games, then it will come out next year. You could be looking at 2028, but as of right now, we have two video games coming out in 2026, Star Wars Galactic Racer and Zero Company, and nothing for 2027. 2028 or 9 is going to be Fate of the Old Republic. Maybe the other year will be Star Wars Eclipse. So I think 2027 is the most likely place for Jedi 3 with Cal Kestis. But continuing. A major turning point in Cal Kestis' narrative occurs with the publication of the reference volume titled Star Wars Secrets of the Jedi, The Chronicles of Luke Skywalker. This came out a couple weeks ago, but it connects Cal Kestis and Luke Skywalker. Written by author Mark Sumerak, this book is presented from a unique perspective of the iconic hero who destroyed the first Death Star, Luke Skywalker. The text explicitly reveals that Luke Skywalker was fully aware of Cal Kestis' survival and his past exploits against the Galactic Empire, because his reference guide is set after the events of the original cinematic trilogy. It strongly implies that the red-headed warrior may have survived long enough to exist during the era of the New Republic, opening up massive possibilities for future crossovers. So this Chronicle of Luke Skywalker, The Secrets of the Jedi, showed that Luke Skywalker was fully aware of Cal Kestis' existence, and implies that the two maybe met at one point, or implies that at least Cal Kestis survived beyond the events of the original trilogy. This makes me want to play Jedi Survivor again. The takedowns in Jedi Survivor are so good. So good. All these games will flop. I'm pretty sure that the Jedi Survivor games are like really, really good sellers. Well, let me fact check myself on that. Let me fact check. How many copies did Jedi Fallen Order? Jedi Fallen Order sold over 10 million copies, okay, in its first year. All right. Let's see. Survivor. Oh, and there's no numbers for Survivor. Specific lifetime unit sale figures have not been publicly disclosed. The combined Star Wars Jedi franchise, including Fallen Order, has surpassed 40 million players globally. So 40 million sold? Pretty good. 40 million games sold at, what are they, $80 a pop? That's some pretty good money made right there. But yeah, all these games, they flop and they suck, of course. Wrong article. Hang on. There it is. But the graphics and the open worldedness of the Jedi games definitely makes me want to go play it again. Okay. As I'm losing my voice right now, that was years ago. Yeah, that's when the games came out. Now the game will flop? Okay. Sure. All right, let's get John Groom on in here. Save my voice for a second. John Groom, how we doing?
Hello, Mike. How's it going?
I'm doing fan-freaking-tastic. How are you?
Good.
have you seen The Mandalorian and Grogu, and what did you think?
I have indeed seen it. I would have to rate it between okay and good. It was fun, good adventure. 0 for lore junkies. The music I didn't like,
Oh, you didn't
especially
like
at
the
the
music?
beginning when I was going into the town where Martin Scorsese was behind the bar. It looked like they was trying to be Blade Runner.
You didn't like that?
And
You're
like
saying?
the music, it felt to me like someone was playing loud music in the room behind me that had nothing to do with the film. And half the time I felt like turning around and saying, "Can you turn that down, please?" That's how the music made me feel in the film. But I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I love that.
Embo was amazing. My
Embo was
favourite
great.
character was probably Grogu, even though I think it's time they stopped making him gurgle like a newborn baby. But yeah. And also, I had a quick thought earlier on when you was talking about Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
Maybe Jedi 3 is setting up Cal Kestis to appear in live action. And maybe they've had a problem getting the game out or doing something with the game, and that's why Ahsoka was delayed.
Interesting. That would be cool. So the Jedi 3 has to come out
That's
before
just completely
Ahsoka
off
season.
the top of my head in the last 20 minutes.
No, I like that. I like that. So Ahsoka season 2 has been delayed because Cal Kestis has to come out, or the Jedi 3 game has to come out before. That's pretty good. Well, John, I will say that is a perspective I have not heard yet, which is great.
Possible.
I have not seen or heard, sorry, I should say, that the music, because you just mentioned specifically my favorite song, my favorite part of the soundtrack of the entire movie, and one I've been seeing online countless times over again, which is the Shikari stuff when they first appear on that planet. And you not liking it, that's a pretty good take. I like that. I like it a lot. And you mentioned not a lot for the lore junkies. I am currently working on a breakdown video for this movie where I can't even sort of explain the plot of the movie because I'm just going into Easter eggs and references, and it's right now 12 pages long. The script for it is 12 pages
long.
Wow. So it might be like an hour-long video, but yeah, there is a lot of references and Easter eggs for sure, but in terms of like, I guess, expanding the Thrawn stuff, there's definitely not a lot. So you're definitely on the nose with that too. But I do like the Cal Kestis theory quite a bit. I do indeed.
Okay. And I was also thinking that the in Ahsoka, the lightsabers that we've never seen before, they could be maybe ancient Zepho lightsabers. Could be maybe they find Kujit's lightsaber.
That'd be pretty cool.
In one of the mines with the infinity gates.
You are hitting all of my buttons right now. I love that. I would like some Zepho connections because we are on Dathomir. We know that Thrawn's back on Dathomir, but another playable planet in those Jedi games is Zepho, and it's not a planet we've seen in live action yet. But when Kujet, the Zepho leader, was in charge, he did rule over Dathomir at the same time. So I'd love to see something like that for sure, because the Zepho did use the Force in very different ways. I don't know if they had lightsaber-like weapons, but it'd be cool to see it.
Well, I think the big machines that we've seen the art where Ahsoka's fighting coming out of the temples, I think they're Zepho, aren't they, originally?
There's writing on it that mentions Kujet, yes, but we don't know if that's because Kujet ruled over over Dathomir and the Night Sisters at one point, or we don't really know, because it's not like the Night Sisters, because the Night Sisters are from Peridia. The Zepho and Kujet, specifically the leader, are from the main galaxy. They're from the planet of Zepho, which is in our main galaxy. So I think it's just a reference to him because he was once their leader at one point, but maybe the Zepho came to Peridia. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I was just thinking there maybe the Zepho created the Night.
That would be crazy.
Know, but obviously if they're from different galaxies, that's unlikely.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, I appreciate it quite a bit. Do you have any death predictions for Ahsoka Season 2?
I'll maybe predict that Ahsoka becomes the daughter. Whether that would be classed as death or not is a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe it's death from the stories in the main galaxy, but
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. John Groom thinks Harrison Dula is going to die. Love it. All right, I appreciate it, John. I'll get you on out of here.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, you heard it here from John Groom himself. Harrison Dula going to die in season 2 of Ahsoka. Crazy. Who would say such a thing? That's blasphemy. Getting back to it, I do like that idea that Cal Kestis in the third Jedi game has to come out before Ahsoka because Cal Kestis is in Ahsoka. And that would make things very interesting and explain why this second season had to be delayed. Going back to I do like to hear other people who think very differently than me about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie specifically, but just Star Wars in general. Because he was literally saying his least favorite song in the entire score is my favorite. It's just the perfect example of how the Star Wars fandom works. We are both Star Wars fans. I know John Groom's a massive Star Wars fan, and of course, I am as well. But you love different things. It's like I always bring up food. You like pineapple on pizza. You don't like pineapple on pizza. You like whatever. You don't like whatever. So it's really cool to see that different perspective. And yes, I am working on quite the breakdown video for this Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and I don't know how I'm going to make it not like a half hour long. So I'm going to try and cut it down, or I'm going to try and talk really, really fast. But there's so many Easter eggs and things in this movie that I don't understand how I'm going to make this entire breakdown video. But either way,
This is where the fun begins.
getting back to this article, where were we? The prospect of a live-action transition has been a major talking point among the community. But the principal actor has very specific conditions before he will agree on the dynamic poncho, to put the dynamic poncho on the physical set. Speaking at a public convention panel, Cameron Monaghan explained any appearance would need to serve a legitimate narrative purpose rather than just acting a simple fan service, as people love the simple fan service. Cal Kestis appearing would have major implications for the entire Star Wars timeline. If he's involved in Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, if he's involved in anything in the events of the sequel trilogy, or in setting up the sequel trilogy, he could be a character like Ahsoka, but in Rebels. Because Ahsoka appears in Rebels, she's this sort of very important and influential person on the rebellion. She's Fulcrum. She helps out with the Ghost crew. That could be Cal Kestis' role in the Mandoverse, where he is this older Jedi who's far more experienced. Now that Ahsoka is gone in a different galaxy, he could help mentor Luke. He could help mentor Jason Syndulla. He could help mentor Ezra a little bit because he's older than all of them and has more experience than all of them, especially with Ahsoka gone. So, yes, it can't just be fan service. The actor explicitly stated it would have to be right. But what I mean is it has to continue the story of the character in some way. I don't just want him to just kind of show up and stand around just to be there. I want him to mean something and for there to be a significance for the character itself. So it would make sense, but in the right context, then yes, absolutely. So if he wants to come to live action, there just has to be the correct context. The third installment of the video game is actively being produced, blah, 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 blah. So there you have it. Cal Kestis could be coming to live action, and there's plenty of plans for this character in the future. That's why his lightsaber is at Galaxy's Edge, and these Disney executives are teasing more Cal Kestis stories on the way. This is the way. I mean, I love Cal Kestis as a character. I've played through both the games. I would love to see him come to live action. Actually, let's put this up in a poll. Let's put it up in a poll. By the way, did you like the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? 49% of you guys said loved it. 35% liked it. 8% said 8% hated it. So right there, you're looking at 85-ish% liked or loved it, which is pretty much the audience score. Okay. Do you want Cal Kestis to come to live action? Yes or no? What do we think? And take your biggest guess. Where is he going to appear first? Ahsoka Season 2, although it sounds like the correct option, although it sounds like it could be the right place to show him, it's already so jam-packed. We've been talking about it all stream. A war in our Star Wars. And then all the stuff that Ahsoka is up to in a different galaxy. So for there to be enough time to introduce a character like Cal Kestis to normie fans, I don't know if Ahsoka Season 2 is going to be the place to do it. So then begs the question, where? Dave Filoni's movie? Somewhere else that hasn't been announced yet? Your guess is as good as mine. There's a possibility that at either D23 this year or at Star Wars Celebration next year, we get a whole slew of announcements of new Star Wars projects, like a Skeleton Crew or an Andor or a Book of Boba Fett, like spin-offs or new stories in the Star Wars universe, specifically in the Mandoverse. Those announcements could be coming very, very soon. Because after Ahsoka Season 2 and after Maul Shadowlord Season 2, we got nothing on the horizon for Star Wars television. Nothing. You got Starfighter as a movie. You got all the announced movies that are still in the limbo of production. But for Star Wars television, to our knowledge, nothing. Zip, nada. So I think come this time next year, come May 26th, 2027, we'll be talking about all these new projects that have been announced, all these new shows that have been announced. Do you think we'll get a Tales for the next May the 4th? No, but I think we could get a Tales by the end of this year. I think no for next May the 4th because I think we'll be getting Maul Shadowlord Season 2 on May the 4th, just like we got Maul Shadowlord Season 1 this May the 4th. But a Tales has been teased quite a bit. At least it was teased like Luke Skywalker in a Tales was leaked out there a couple weeks ago. But I hope that means that we're getting a Tales by the end of this year. Yeah. I hope it's a Tales of the Jedi Season 2, but Cal Kestis in Starfighter? Well, Starfighter is 5 years after the sequels. So how old would Cal Kestis be? If Cal is like, what? How old is Cal when Order 66 happens? Let's see. Let's do some quick math. How old is Cal Kestis in Fallen Order? He's 17 or 18. So let's say he's 18. 18, about 5 years after. So he's 12 or 13 during Order 66? Okay, so he's 12 or 13. That means 20 years later it's the original trilogy, so he'd be 32. That means another 30 years later it's the sequels, give or take, so he'd be in his mid-60s. So he'd be in his late 60s, early 70s by the time of Starfighter. Now, I'm not saying they can't do it. They made Chris Evans look old in Avengers Endgame, but I don't think they'll put an old version of Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis in Starfighter. I just don't think that's what they're going to do. I don't think that's what they're going to do. But maybe some other characters. I don't know. He'd be an old man Obi-Wan in Starfighter. Well, we do know that Starfighter is going to have lightsabers in it. So I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility that we could be getting some Cal Kestis in there, but I don't see it happening. He'd be around 70 years old. A Tales of the Rebellion with adult Hera and Omega? That would be awesome. Because Omega right now has been set up to be the key to everything. She is the only being in the galaxy that we know of that has the ability to transfer midichlorians successfully from a clone, from a host to a clone body. She's not force sensitive. She's not powerful with the force, but she's the only person in the galaxy that we know of that can transfer midichlorians. So she is still the key to everything, and yet we don't know where she is. Do you think the Force sensitive kid in Starfighter is going to be related to another character? I don't know. Well, he's going to be the son of Amy Adams' character, but I don't know if those characters will be related to anybody. Yeah. I just think with all the talk of this being so unconnected to anything, unless they're lying to us, which is possible, I don't know. Yeah. A Cal and Tails would be cool too. I'd like that. I just want to see all the Jedi together at Luke's Jedi Temple. The story of the fall of Luke's Jedi Temple would make an awesome trilogy, and it could redeem the sequels. I agree with you. I don't think it'll be a trilogy, but maybe an animated show. We definitely need that story told. And yes, seeing all the Jedi of like Ezra, Jason Syndulla, Cal Kestis, Luke Skywalker, Grogu even, all of them at the Jedi Temple at the same time would be really cool. Devin Izara in Starfighter? That depends. That depends on a lot of things. I would love it, but I don't think so. Yeah. Holy crap, it's already been 2 hours. How does this happen? With the Mandalorian and Grogu stuff, we haven't covered a movie ever in channel history because this channel started 5 years ago. So we haven't had a movie since this channel began. So I've not had to cover a movie. But apparently it takes up a lot of time because these streams have been over 2 hours lately, and I don't know how it happens. We didn't even get to all the news I wanted to talk about. We didn't even get to the Starfighter news with the REY movie. I guess we're saving it for Thursday. I'll have to write it down. Save for Thursday. Okay. With that being said, smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video. If you have not seen the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Star Wars is back on the big screen, and it made its budget back in the opening weekend. It cost $165 to film the movie, and they made $165 in the box office in its opening weekend. Hopefully it continues on a great path. If we could get up to $500 million, if we could get up past that to $1 billion, we'd be in a great spot as Star Wars fans. But here's the reality of the situation. We are coming off of one of, if not the greatest live action projects in the history of Star Wars, one of, if not the greatest animated projects in the history of Star Wars, and Star Wars is back on the big screen. It truly is the greatest time to be a Star Wars fan. I appreciate you all so much for being here. If you have not already, hit that subscribe, hit that like button, all that great stuff, and join the Discord. Keep the conversation going in the Discord below. Okay, I'm going to Disneyland. Are you actually going to Disneyland? Lobo, if you're actually going to Disneyland, that would be awesome. Having said that, smash a freaking like in the stream, and let's see 76% of you guys want Cal Kestis in live action. I don't know what the hell the 24% of you guys are waiting for. Let's do it. Let's do it. But until then, smash a freaking like in the stream, hit that subscribe, all that great stuff, and yeah, may the force be with you. Always. Oh my God, Chopper, come on! Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you guys so much more than you'll ever know. This was quite the live stream. I don't know how the time flies this quickly. I feel like I talk so fast, too, to try and get everything done, and I still don't get everything done. My God. But until next time, hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives. The first Star Wars movie is back in theaters in almost 7 years. It's got the audience score of a generation. And it's making some pretty good money. Not great money, but pretty good money. And good night, everybody.